Hello. Welcome to Connecting to Consciousness, where the focus is to explore, to question, and examine our perspectives. I'm Nasira Waters. So, today is the last day of the six-part series, Making Our Values Visible, in which I focused on the word values as an acronym. I started the first episode with the V in the word values, which is vision and values, identifying 3 to 5 values and connecting them with our vision for our lives. Then the A, awareness, being aware of how we show up in the world and its impact on our present and future, as well as the impact on those around us. Then L, lessons for legacy. Understanding that when we can identify the lessons that our experiences come to teach us and apply them, it has a positive impact on our legacy. Then U for understanding the seasons that we're in. At various times throughout life, we're in different seasons, and being able to identify the season that we're in better allows us to, one, know what to engage in and how to engage. For instance, if we're in a season of releasing and letting go of things, that can definitely help us to identify when we should not be, let's say, taking on certain responsibilities. Then we have E for evolution, understanding that our evolution is the revolution within. And then last but not least, today's episode is S for sacred, sustaining our sacred space. Now, as I thought about sustaining our sacred space, I came up with understanding that the essence of who we're meant to be comes from a sacred space, a space from which meaningful values arise, a space that allows us to connect to what is true and pure. And it's a space that we must be intentional about honoring in order to make our values visible. Now, for me, when I think of being intentional, there are several things, that I'm intentional about. But for the purpose of considering and exploring our sacred space, two of those intentions are my priorities with prayer and reading the Bible. And this is because of my faith as a Christian. So that those are two intentional priorities as it pertains to sustaining our sacred space. I also read other spiritual, motivational, inspiring books, one of which I'm reading currently is titled Draw the Circle, the 40-Day Prayer Challenge by Mark Batterson. Now, that book was actually recommended by someone on a podcast that I watched, and then I presented it in my Bible study book club, and one of the young ladies mentioned that she read it and it had a meaningful impact on her life and some changes occurred. So I'm reading it, I am thoroughly enjoying it, and I shared it, so just in case you're interested. Now, sustaining our sacred space, like anything else in life, comes with challenges. One being distractions. Now, distractions can come in many forms. One being, a few of them being confusion, strife, busyness, overthinking, engaging in trivial matters, focusing on fear, gossiping, prioritizing materialism, and the like. The key is to identify any and all distractions. For me, in order for me to do that, sometimes I know that I can point them out easily. And then other times I may not be clear that something is showing up as a distraction. And that can be because it comes across as something good or that it is something good. But just because it's good doesn't mean that it's good for me, doesn't mean that it's good for that particular time and space in my life. So there are times that it's important that I pray and ask God, is this a distraction? And I also pray once I get a response, if it is a distraction, how do I address it? Because it's important to address it in a loving manner because distractions come in the form of individuals typically, right? So we want to address it in a loving manner because we're dealing with other human beings. Now, identifying the distraction is crucial because it can prevent us from living out our values. It can also prevent us from moving forward in life. Now, sustaining our sacred space often looks different on each of us because of our different personalities and lifestyles, and that's okay. In order to sustain our sacred space, there are certain things that we need to put into practice. And some of those things that you may do, and I know some of them that I do, are prayer, meditation, journaling, or some other form of writing, listening to music, could be cycling, hiking, singing, sitting by the ocean, swimming, grounding one's feet in the grass. Could be going for walks, engaging in nurturing relationships, getting the support of a mentor, a coach, a therapist. It could be sitting in silence. There are numerous ways in which we can access sustaining our sacred space. Now, as I consider this further, I think that whatever connects our soul to the essence of truth and purity, not perfection, but truth and purity, if it's applied with pure intention, it can act as a bridge to sustaining our sacred space. So we can utilize these things as tools to support the process of sustaining our sacred space. Because in reality, life and people will come and distract us. That's just a part of this journey, which is why it's important for us to develop practices and be consistent. So that when these things come up, when confusion arises, busyness, strife, overthinking, fear, and so on and so forth, when they come, we can easily, number one, identify them, name it, and call forth exactly what we're going to put in its place and begin to move forward. Our sacred space is invaluable. And for me, it's not open for negotiating, right? No negotiations when it comes to my sacred space. That is a space of peace. And the reason why I say it's not open for negotiation is because when we understand that sustaining our sacred space requires self-discipline and agency, there is no negotiation. Tongue twister for me. So we have the ability, the capacity to exercise self-discipline and agency. And some of us, yes, we have to gain the courage to exercise our agency, but we do have the capacity. And that's why I believe that I cannot negotiate my sacred space. Because truth, we have the capacity. Now we must have a resolve to exercise the will. So, if you are so inclined to continue on this journey of curious self-discovery through making our values visible, making your values visible, and sustaining your sacred space, I invite you. Let's take this journey together. Until next time, live consciously.